Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the origin of the cosmic manifestation, is covered by the wonderful activities of material nature. Just as outer space or the illumination of the sun and moon is sometimes covered by clouds or dust. It is very difficult to find the origin of the cosmic manifestation. Therefore, material scientists conclude that nature is the ultimate cause of all manifestations. But from Shastra or authentic literature like Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic scriptures, we understand that behind this wonderful cosmic manifestation is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in order to maintain the regular procedures of the cosmic manifestation and to be visible to the eyes of the person who are in the mode of goodness, the Lord appears. He is the cause of creation and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. The demigods therefore prayed for his merciful glance upon them in order to be blessed. So this is a prayer by the demigods to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in this prayer, the demigods are praying to the Supreme Lord to cast his glance upon them. Because this glance of the Lord is everything. There cannot be any greater benediction or any greater feeling than the feeling that the Lord is casting his glance, his merciful glance upon me. Drishyad, glance over. And what kind of drishyad, what kind of glance the demigods are praying? Oh Lord, please cast your glance upon me. Karunena, very merciful. Vilokanena, avalokanena, we hear. Vilokanena, glance. And how the glance is further being described, what is this glance? The comparison is made that the Lord's merciful glance can supersede the beauty of the spotless lotus flower, which is the home of the goddess of fortune. Goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, she sits on that lotus. You've seen that. That's her home. And a spotless lotus flower is very, very beautiful. But the Lord's merciful glance is even more beautiful than that. So that is the prayer that is being made. The demigods therefore prayed for his merciful glance upon them. Here in the purport, Prabhupada is mentioning that we understand that behind this wonderful cosmic manifestation is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in order to maintain it, it is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead who maintains it and the Supreme Personality of Godhead who created it. Actually, the creation of the material world itself, we are all existing in this material world. How does this material world come about? This material world came about by the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This shows us the potency of the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that the entire creation came into existence just by his glance. Initially, there was nothing existing. And the Lord just glanced over this material creation. Sa aikshata. Aikshata means with his aksha, with his eyes. He glanced over this material creation. And then what was the result? Sa imal lokan ashrijata. Sa aikshata, sa ashrijata. Ashrijata means creation came into existence. So this shows the potency of the Lord's glance. Just like when we glance upon someone, it's something else. But when the Lord glances over someone or over something, it has the potency to bring life into it. It has a potency to create this wonderful material world. It is said in the scriptures that the Lord's glancing is also one of the pastimes of the Lord. Generally, we consider the pastimes of the Lord as one of his pastimes with his friends, or killing of the demon, or playing with his cowherd boys, or eating lunch with his friends, or something like that. But no, even the glancing of the Lord, which resulted in the creation of the material world, is also a pastime of the Lord. And why is it the pastime of the Lord? Because one of the features of the pastime of the Lord is that he performs his pastimes as per his desire, as per his will. That is a past. Whenever he wants, he will perform his pastime. And when he performs his pastimes, all those who are engaged in his pastimes, or all those who participate in his pastimes, have the opportunity to go back to Godhead. They'll be delivered. They will attain moksha. So in the same way, how is this glancing a pastime? Because his glancing also, when does the Lord create this material world? When he desires. It is all depending upon his desire. So he desired that let there be creation, and so he glanced. And because it was created as per his desire, so it is a pastime of the Lord. And in this material world, actually it's a very merciful pastime of the Lord, because in this material world, all those who have come into existence as these human beings, especially all of us, have the opportunity to go back to the spiritual world, become free from this entanglement of birth, death, old age, disease. So the same result is achieved by actually being in this material world and following the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's a pastime of the Lord. This glancing of the Lord and creating this wonderful material world also shows us the omnipotency of the Lord. The Lord, just by glancing, can create this material world? Yes. Krishna's glance creates this material world, and it proves that all the parts of his body have the capability to perform the function of any other part. Just like creation, we need something else, but just by glancing, the Lord can create. Just by glancing, the Lord can eat. Just by glancing, the Lord can hear. The Lord can do so many things just from each of his different senses. That's why it is said in the scriptures, Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti. Angani yasya sakalendriya. Any one of his anga can sakalendriya vritti manti, can perform the functions of all his parts. Krishna can eat the food just by seeing it. Krishna can hear from his ears. Very something very similar Krishna does during his creation. He created just by his glancing. And it is said, how did he give the Vedas to Brahma? It is said he gave the Vedas to the Brahma just by breathing out. That's why it is said in the scriptures written, he breathed out the Vedas to Brahma. Now, how can someone give the Vedas by breathing? If you have to tell even one sentence about Krishna, forget about the whole Vedas. You have to speak, you have to use your tongue. But no, this is Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manta. We try to compare Krishna. How can he do this? Why we say that? Because I can't do this. I can't glance and create something. I can't breathe and speak something. So we cannot compare Krishna with ourselves. That means I am calculating the strength of the God, strength of Lord with my capacity. No, Krishna is Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can do anything. We should not think how the Lord gave out his laws. Vedas means his laws. He gave out his laws by his breathing. So this is the omnipotency of the Lord. So Krishna's glance is omnipotent. He is omnipotent, and this is being proven by so many of his things. One such thing that comes in this verse is his glance. Now Krishna's glance, in the scriptures it is said, because it is Krishna's glance, it is the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his glance is always all auspicious for everyone. Obviously, you may be wondering that, yes, Krishna's glance has to be all auspicious. Now, in the scriptures, there are two instances mentioned what his glance can do. One instance is his glance can revive a dead person. His glance can bring back to life a person who has died. Like, for example, we have so many instances. One such instance is when all the cowherd boys had gone to drink water in the river Yamuna. After playing on the banks of river Yamuna, they became very thirsty. And then, because the waters of river Yamuna was poisoned by Kaliya, they all died by drinking the poisoned water. And then Krishna, with his merciful glance, he revived all of them. They were all dead actually. And when the boys were all revived, they realized that actually they were dead by drinking the poisonous water. So after they regained consciousness, they began to look at one another with great astonishment that, wow, Krishna has just by his glance brought us back to life. How merciful he is, and this is the potency of my Supreme Lord. Just by seeing, just by his glance, he brings us back to life. So here is an instance where Krishna brought back to life all the cowherd boys just by his glance. And in another instance, quite contrary, in the Bhagavatam it is said, when he was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was also glancing on all the soldiers of the opposite army and soldiers on Arjuna's side also. What did he do by his glance? Sthitavati, when he was situated, Sthitavati on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Parasainika Ayuhu. Parasainika. Sainika means all the soldiers of the opposite army. Ayuhu. Their Ayuhu. Akshna. Akshna means by his seeing, by his glancing. Hritavati. He took away their Ayu. Means by his glance, he actually reduced their age. He actually killed them. There we see by his glance, he revived the cowherd boys. And here we see that by his glance, he actually took away the lifespan of all those soldiers in the opposite side. But although he reduced the lifespan of all the soldiers on the opposite side, it was not an ordinary reduction in their lifespan. All of them went back to all of them got liberated. Because it was the Lord's glance. It was no ordinary glance. So Prabhupada writes that the Lord being on the side of Arjuna does not mean that he was partial to the cause of Arjuna. Krishna was only with Arjuna, not with anyone else. No, the Lord was with everyone in the battle of Kurukshetra, in a sense. Factually, Krishna was merciful to the opposite party also, because they wouldn't have attained salvation by dying at home in the ordinary course of life. Here was a chance to see the Lord at the time of death and thus attain salvation from material life. Therefore, Lord is all good. His glance is all good, and whatever he does is for everyone's good. So this is the Lord's glance. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord's glance is described as cooling as the lotus flower. We know that famous verse, Namah Pankaja Nabhaya, Namah Pankaja Maline, Namah Pankaja Netraya, Namaste Pankajangraye. Namah Pankaja Netraya. What is the meaning of Pankaja Netraya? Prabhupada translates, he doesn't just translate Pankaja Netraya means the Lord's netra or his eyes is like the lotus flower. It is translated as Pankaja Netraya means one whose glance is as cooling as the lotus flower. So that is the glance of the Supreme Lord. So the Lord's glance being so powerful, so pregnant, so potent that He is creating the whole material world, He is reviving someone. His glance is all auspicious, His glance is wonderful. So we should all be hankering after the Lord's glance. When will the Lord glance after me? Just like the Devatas in this verse, the demigods are praying, please cast your merciful glance on me. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, how this hankering, we should all be when will the Lord cast your glance upon you? At least we should hanker after the Lord's glance. Lord, please glance upon me. Please cast your merciful glance upon me. At least if we pray like this, the Lord will be, this devotee of mine is praying for my glance. Okay, let me be merciful. Just like the Devatas are praying. So, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, when during the pastimes of the cowherd girls, the gopis and Krishna, at one point of time, Krishna disappears from that scene where the pastime was being performed. He just disappears. And the gopis, not finding Krishna, not being able to see him, they are perturbed. They become very anxious. And they are praying to Krishna, Krishna, please come again and please cast your glance upon us. For we cannot live without seeing you. So the prayer is, my dear Krishna, you are the life and soul even of the lotus flower that grows in the water of the lakes. The gopis are praying that the lotus flower is so beautiful. Why? Because of your glance. Like Tava Vikshitai, Kunti Maharani's one prayer is there, that everything, Vanadri Nadi Udanvanto Hi Edante Tava Vikshitai. Kunti Maharani is praying that the rivers are full of water, the lakes are full of flowers, and the oceans are full of minerals. Everything is so full, everything is so prosperous. The prosperity is because of the Lord's glance, because of the Lord casting His merciful glance. So similarly, this gopi is praying that the lotus flower is actually existing because of your glance. And if your glance wouldn't have been there, the lotus flower wouldn't have existed. The lotus flower would have withered and died away. And so so the gopis are praying, similarly, without your glance, Lord, because the Lord had disappeared from that scene. So the gopis are praying, without your glance, we are also dying. You see, this example of glance is in the mood of feelings of separation. So without your glance, we are also dying. They further prayed, actually we are not your wives, but your slaves. You never spent any money for us, yet we are simply attracted by your glance. Now if we die without receiving your glance, you will be responsible for our death. It's a very heartfelt prayer of the gopis in separation for Krishna, and a very exalted prayer by the gopis. So if certainly, and then they say that certainly the killing, they were saying that if we, without your glance we can't exist, we will die. So they are saying certainly the killing of women is a great sin. And if you do not cast your glance, if you do not come and see us, we will die and you will suffer the reactions of sin. So please come, see us. Do not think that one can be killed only by weapons. We are being killed with your absence, without your glance. So this is an instance to show how exalted the gopis were, how much they were hankering after the glance of the Lord, seeing the Lord, because for them, the glance of the Lord, the sight of the Lord was everything to them. Krishna was their life and soul. Without Krishna, they could not live. So this was their prayer. And once Krishna, then he reappears. He is happy with the prayers of the gopis. So he reappears, and when he casts his glance upon the gopis, then the gopis were so happy. And they prayed. What was the, when the gopis saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, it is mentioned very nicely, the Bhagavatam mentions, the gopis saw the beloved Krishna, and when they saw him, they secured and embraced Krishna in their hearts through their eyes. They secured and embraced Krishna in their hearts through their eyes. And they attained a joy so intense when they secured Krishna and embraced him in their hearts. They attained a joy so intense that not even the most perfect yogis can attain that. That was seeing Krishna. That was the effect of Krishna's glance upon the gopis, and gopis beholding the Lord in their hearts. So, just like the gopis, we should also hanker after the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord, when will you glance upon me and lift me from this material existence? I am suffering. Haha Prabhu Nityananda, Premananda Sukhi, Kripa Avalokena Karo Ami Bado Dukhi. The same word used here in this verse. Kripa Avalokana. Here also in this word, the demigods are praying for the merciful glance. Here also, we pray every day to Lord Nityananda. Kripa Avalokana. Kripa means a merciful glance. Koro means cast. Cast your merciful glance upon me. So, what can the merciful glance of their lordships do to us? Prabodhananda Saraswati is very nicely explaining what the Lord's glance can do to us. The magic of the Lord's glance. It can create wonders. That famous prayer of Prabodhananda Saraswati, this is about Lord, he's praying in this prayer for the merciful glance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu upon us. And he says that what can this do? 4 or 5 things he mentioned that the Lord's merciful glance can do. Number 1, Kaivalyam Narakayate. Kaivalya means liberation. That impersonal liberation will appear like moksha, will appear like narakayate, will appear like hellish. Because the Lord's merciful glance is so enjoyable, it's so relishable. It is, you get seized in it, you are merged in an ocean of happiness. That the happiness of attaining liberation appears like going to naraka, going to hell. We are not at all interested in it. Kevalyam narakayate, Tridashapur akasha pushpayate. And Tridashapur means the heavenly planets. Going to the heavenly planets, which many people crave for, the yogis and many other karmis, they want to go to the heavenly planets. Akasha pushpayate. Akasha pushpayate means like you don't get a flower in the akasha, right? So it's like it's like phantasmagoria in Prabhupada's words. It means it's something that you can't conceive of a flower in the sky. So going to the heavenly planet, I can't even think of it. It's non-existence. It doesn't exist for me. Just like the flower in the sky doesn't exist, going to the heavenly planet, which so many people are hankering after, it doesn't exist for me. Because what is happiness in the heavenly planet if I can get the glance of the Supreme Lord? The happiness in that is like an ocean. Kaivalyam narakayate, Tridashapur akasha pushpayate. And then further, Durdanta indriya kala sarpa patali prokhata damstrayate. Our senses are compared to be like venomous serpents. Any moment it can kill. We are being killed by our own senses. The enemies are within us. Just like a snake with venomous teeth can be very fatal. If we are in front of it, we can be killed by the snake. So similarly, we have these senses which are like venomous snakes, but the venom has been removed. Just like if the venom of the snake has been removed, the snake is no more dangerous. So a person who has had the glance, the merciful glance of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has been blessed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for him, the senses are automatically controlled. He doesn't have to worry about his senses, because his senses are absorbed in a much higher pleasure of the Supreme Lord, engaging in his service, thinking about him, chanting his holy name. So he has no fear of his senses. And Vishwam Purna Sukhayate, the whole material world, which is like a blazing fire, for a person who has the merciful glance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he doesn't fear the material world. Vishwam Purna Sukhayate, because he is constantly absorbed in the thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then further it is said, Vidhi Mahendra Adi Kitayate. If somebody offers me, you become Vidhi, that is Brahma, Mahendra, that is Indra. You become Brahma, I'll elevate. What are you doing? I'll elevate you to a position of Brahma and Indra. Those positions are like insects for me. Insect has no position, right? So that is the result. And all these things happen. This Kaivalyam Narakayate, Tridasha Pura Akasha Pushpate, all this happens when? It happens when Karunya Kataksha. Karunya means merciful, Kataksha, Aksha. Kataksha means the glance. So Karunya Kataksha. When and whom? Gauram. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu casts his merciful glance, this is the result that happens to a devotee. So this is what the merciful glance can do. So how do we get this glance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or of Krishna, any deities upon us? There are two ways by which we can get this glance of the Lord. Number one, you have to serve the Lord in such a way that the Lord sees you. Krishna, Prabhupada many a time said, this is a very common proverb, don't try to see the Lord, work in such a way that the Lord sees you. So you should always think, let me serve the Lord so nicely that the Lord wants to see me, that the Lord casts his glance upon me. That is one way. Which is the other way to see the Lord or to have the Lord glance upon you? Very simple. Go to the main temple hall and stand in front of the Lord. And the Lord is there. He's casting his glance upon you. It's a fact. When you go to the main temple hall and you pray a fervent prayer, a heartfelt prayer, just like you see the gopis, they prayed to the Lord. That time the Lord was not even in front of them. Without the Lord being in front of them, the gopis, because they offered a heartful prayer, we are losing your life, you're killing us by your absence, the Lord appeared. Right? And cast his glance upon them. So similarly, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasi, Archanam, Vandanam. Vandanam is one of the bona fide methods of devotional service. If you just go and pray to the Lord in front of the deities, the Lord will be pleased. And every day if you go and pray, the Lord is saying that this devotee every day comes in front of me and prays to me, I must bless him. And actually he is blessing you every day. Every day he is casting his glance upon you. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, what is the result of you going and praying in front of the Lord, and the Lord is seeing you, he is casting his glance upon you. It is said that Shri Anga, Shri Mukha, Yei Kore Darshana. If you have darshan of the Lord, his body, Shri Anga, Shri Mukha, and his face, Shri Anga, Shri Mukha, Yei Kore Darshana, Tar Papa Shayahaya, Paya Premadhana. Two wonderful things will happen if you just go and see the Lord in the main temple or anywhere. And we have an opportunity to see him every day in our temple. such beautiful forms of their lordships, all the deities. Shri Anga Shri Mukha Yeikare Darshana Tara Papa Shaya Hoya Paya Prema Dhana. Papa Shaya, all your sinful reactions will be finished. Papa Shaya means finished. And not just that, Paya Prema Dhana. What more do we want in life? The real wealth, the real dhana is prema. Rupa Goswami says prema is the highest goal in life. So just by seeing the Lord, this can be attained, is what Krishnadas Kaviraj is writing. He further writes, Krishna avalokena. He writes that what is the best thing for the eyes? The best thing for the eyes, he says, the sight of Krishna or the glance of Krishna. Krishna is glancing upon us, you are also seeing the Lord. Both ways it is happening. So he says that sight of Krishna is the best consummation for the eyes. The eyes can get consumed by the sight of the Lord. So even in this stage where we are not so advanced, actually having the darshan of the Lord and having a fervent prayer being said to the Lord can be a very wonderful feeling, a very wonderful experience for the devotee. We just have to offer our prayers fervently and see the beautiful form. That's why Prabhupada always said, in ISKCON, deities should be very, very gorgeously decorated. He stressed on that, because if you just see the Lord, you will forget the entire material beauty. So he says, Krishna avalokana vina netre phala nahi ana. The phala, everybody is hankering after fruit, right? Fruit means something to enjoy. Even all the senses are hankering after enjoyment. Means enjoyment is the fruit. So what is the fruit for the eye? Netra phala. What is the netra phala? Krishna avalokana. And here it is saying Krishna avalokana means the glance of the Lord or seeing the Lord. Vina, without that. Seeing the Lord, except that, netra phala nahi ara. There is no other fruit for the eye. Ye jano Krishna dekhe, shei bhagyavan. How many of us consider ourselves to be like this? We are very bhagyavan that we see the Lord. See, Krishnadas Kaviraj is writing, Ye jano Krishna dekhe, shei bhagyavan. So we are so fortunate that every day we are seeing the Lord is casting his glance upon us. So we just have to pray to the Lord that please, Lord, please cast your merciful glance upon me. I am very fallen. A very humble prayer has to go. Then no matter how fallen you are, the more fallen you are, the more qualified you are. That's what we pray every day to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. My claim is first on you because I am the most fallen. So already you are qualified. Already all of us are qualified. Now we just have to pray very feelingly. The Lord, I am standing in front of you. I am the most fallen. I am suffering. Please cast your merciful glance and please relieve me. This should be our prayer, and this is the prayer that all the demigods are making to the Lord, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this verse. We'll end here. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.